Good afternoon, Joris.
Hey, Peter.
How are
How are
you?
you?
I'm
I'm
doing
okay,
fine.
okay.
Now, yeah, these are special times. You have your own company selling services.
Yes.
What is the impact of Corona on your business?
I don't see this Corona virus, Peter, as a problem for
Mm.
myself. I see this as an enormous opportunity. An enormous opportunity for myself, because as you know, I'm a change manager, I'm an interim manager. And as a change manager, I like to observe how society is reacting to all this crisis and so on, because it's apparently the same when you're in organizations. People react in their own way towards change, towards things that are different. If they want to, if they don't want to, how do they react? The one reacting differently than the other. It's very interesting for me to see how these different aspects come to life in a crisis like this. So that's one point, and the other opportunity is that I'm trying to react myself, or to go back to my own authenticity again, and to learn more about the stuff that I want to learn about. So for me, this is a learning opportunity. I'm constantly surfing and looking for white papers, for stuff that enriches me as a person and as a professional.
And does that mean then you're going back to yourself, to the real Joris, who is the roots and the core of Joris? So that means that you're going to reflect on who am I, and which are the things that I like doing, give me energy. And so this means these are the services that I'm going to offer to my clients, and maybe remove things that you said, maybe this is not 100% Joris.
Exactly. So for me, 10 years ago, and as you know, 10 years ago, I removed myself from a top position at the telecom company. And I started my own business, but one of the main reasons why I did that was to go back to myself again, to get to know myself a little better again, because I lost myself in this fake environment, as I call it, and that's maybe not right to say, but for me it felt a little bit fake for myself.
No, but it's actually the same what Carola Marx said Friday. She said exactly the same when she was leaving the competitive telco player where you worked. So it's actually, she said exactly the same words.
It's a rat race, you know, and once you're in that rat race, you become a victim of that rat race, and so I wanted to go back to my own, and there are three aspects that are very important to me, or that were very important to me. One was getting back in charge of my own agenda, which was impossible as a senior vice president at the telecom company, because they were leading my agenda. So I wanted my agenda back. The second word that come up to me is like freedom. Freedom to choose what you want to do. And then a third point is related to that. I made myself the promise in the mirror that I would only do things that I wanted to do for myself. So going back to my roots, going back to my authenticity in this kind of era is like, okay, so there will come new opportunities. There will be new opportunities coming to me. What do I want to do with myself in the next 5 years? What do I not want to do with myself? And so that for me is an important question to answer. And so I'm busy with that the last couple of weeks. What direction would I go to? Which network will I speak to realize that stuff?
If I look at your career, change management, because you actually started your career in 1985 when I was 10 years young, in Volvo and in IT.
I'm an old man, Peter.
You're a wise man. You're a wise man.
No, an old man.
I mean, you started in in an IT role, and then you changed to program management, and with the Six Sigma expertise that you built. I mean, is that the complete line in your whole career, that change management, or how did that happen?
Let me go back to the start, because it's a story that I want to tell how I started.
But I really want to find out. I mean, was it by accident that happened to you, or how did you discover that was your thing?
Yeah. Coincidence doesn't exist.
No,
So there's always a reason why you do things. But let me say that it was not predicted. It was not something that I thought about. I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. So as I am an old guy, Peter, in '84, I was obliged to go to the army.
Okay.
So I had my high school degree of a graduate in informatics, which was at that time not even online on a computer. It was with punching cards and so on. So I studied that one, and then I had to go into the army. And so being in the army was for me not like something that I was enjoying and so on. So, and during that 10 months in the army, my father said like, well, there is an opportunity when you come out of the army to go and earn a little bit of money in Volvo, because I could go there as a stagiaire, as an intern. So I said like, well, that's maybe good, because my ambition was to go learning. After my army duty, I was going to study marketing and so on. So what I was interested in marketing and so on at that time already. So I came out of the army and I said like, why not earn a little bit of money, 6 months, maybe a year as an interim, and then I can still go to school again. So when I started, and so the first job that I had in Volvo, and this will maybe surprise everybody, but the first job was like I had to carry around the internal mail.
Okay.
So I had this carriage, and I was in the old movies. You can still see them, like these guys that are delivering the internal mail. That was my first job. So whatever they said I was going to do, because I wanted to earn a little bit of money to have my own independence and so on from my parents. And 3 months after that, I was looking at the IT department, and they were looking for a guy to, or they had a vacancy for office automation, which was like PCs that were coming out then. The IBM had this wonderful personal computer. Microsoft has MS-DOS and so on. So there was a lot of these things going on. So I said like, okay, I will look, and I go directly to the IT boss. And I went directly into his office as an interim. This is also a red line. I was never afraid of doing anything wrong. So I went into his office and I said like, well, why not choosing me? Because I want to do that. He said like, no, you're an interim, so you can't do that. So, okay, I went around and started delivering the internal post mail again and so on. And so after a month, they didn't have a candidate. So I went back to his room and I said like, I still want to do that. And so after 2-3 months, to cut the story short, I went to his office 3 or 4 times. And he said, no, you're an interim, you can't apply for that job. And all these guys that are sitting in the IT department, these 50 guys, they said like, well, all these mainframes which we are using and these things and so on, well, these personal computers will never be able to do what all these mainframes do. So they didn't believe in that. And that's what strikes me. I was always going for the difficult job, the thing that nobody else wanted to do. And I was very persistent, and at the end, the IT boss said like, okay, you can have it, but I will give you 3 months of a trial period, as they say, and after 3 months we will reevaluate. But I started in there, I put it myself in there. I had never seen a personal computer in my life, This was also for me the first time. And I started to do things with that. I started to play around with it and so on. And so I came out with some kind of Visual Basic programs that I was writing and so on. In the end, after 3 months, the boss said like, well, you're doing a great job, you can keep the job. And so I started my career. In the end, I never went back to school, and my career was booming from that moment on, because I was a pioneer. 8 months later, I was responsible in the cars factory for 600 PCs. They were connected in an Ethernet network with Microsoft Windows, all these standard applications. I created the help desk principle. Can you imagine everybody talking today about a help desk? This wasn't existing at that time. So I created that one with the first level help, the second level help desk, and so on. So you introduced a lot of these kind of processes, and that was a great success. And in the end, I went back to the guy's office, the IT manager, and maybe if you see this movie, you'll laugh about it. And I said, like, come on, and now the next step needs to come. It was like 9 years in the cars factory. Now something needs to happen because I was losing the drive to do new things, and it was becoming a routine. And he said, like, what would you like to do? Because we're happy with you, so we want to help you. And I said, like, look, in this company, the only seat that interests me is yours. And so he laughed and he said, like, my seat is not for sale or is not available. So, but you know, he said, like, I will help you. And so that's when he offered me, or he used this network internally, and they offered me the job of a European manager in the Volvo Cars for the implementation of an outsourcing of AS400 and things like that. So he really moved me. So again, Peter, two aspects. It's all about change and taking risks. I'm a risk taker, to be honest. I'm a risk taker. I like to take risks, and once in a while they go well, and sometimes they are not going so well. But I always say, like, you can never fail. You can only fail when you have not learned something.
Yeah,
I'm still learning.
Yeah,
I'm still learning every day. Every job that I'm doing, I'm still learning new aspects. And so that's how my career started. So it was not something that I was like having in my mind. I want to do this, I want to do that. It was opportunity driven.
And that risk-taking trait, was that something that you had already as a kid, or was it something that your father or your mother gave to you? I mean, my generation are very security driven because it's post-war, whereas today youngsters are more focused on purpose and that so they can create their own paths. Where did you get that risk taking?
You know, it came from, I was raised very in a very stable. My father, my mother, my brother, sister, we were in a very stable situation. So my father was working, my mother was at home, she was taking care of us and so on. So I was like, it was very strict and very stable. So for me, that was like the outburst. I needed to come out of that stability and do something new. The second thing was that, as you know, I'm also a sportsman, and I had a career in sports. And always, in my sports, which was basketball, I was not the top talent of the team. But I knew that when I was working a little bit harder than the others, I would get my chance. So that helped me also to realize that nothing comes from itself. Nothing comes because you know something. It comes because you're doing something differently than what others do. So when I didn't have practice, I was running around with my ball on the terrace with my parents, and I was looking for a hoop, and I was looking for with some friends to shoot some balls. And that's what drives me. That's where my drive came from. Is in a sense like you have to take some risks also in the game. And if it works, you can do it again. If it doesn't work, stop doing it. And so for me, everything is opportunity driven. Even today, I'm 57 years old. Every little chance that I have is an opportunity. The Corona crisis now, for me, I look upon that as an opportunity. An opportunity to reinvent myself, to see how I can help organizations in the future, the new normal, as they're calling. Nobody knows what the new normal will be, but I'm ready to take that step with the organization.
And do you believe that? Do you believe there's going to be a new normal? A lot of people think,
Yes, if my personal opinion, yes, there will be a new normal.
What is that then?
What the new normal will be, I don't know myself. I don't have the crystal ball, but I know there will be a new normal. I'm sure that history is going to be written, or is written today, in the sense like the before Corona time and the after Corona time will be known in the history books.
And I mean, if you look at NLP, I mean, people change for two reasons: to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. And the first category is of course bigger. Do you, I believe that people, and also I'm talking about organizations who, I mean, there are organizations and people now taking a victim role and playing on fear. Do you believe that because they are suffering, that they will change their behavior towards their customers, towards their employees, that will change that after Corona?
Exactly, but you know what is interesting in your question is, like, you're talking about the human factor in change, and that's the one that is interesting me, because not every human is going to react in the same way towards this, and you can see that today. People are very disciplined, one hand on the other, stay at home. Others are like searching for the lines, how far they can go. And you have a bunch of people that do not care. They have something like, if everybody does this, I do something. It's that human factor. And you can have the best processes, you can have the best procedures, you can have the best product, you can have the best organization, you can have whatever you like. It's still the humans that are making the difference. And for me, that's what you see on my LinkedIn profile, on my subtitle, in my. Let's look for that human factor and do that. In essence, I'm a generalist, as you know. I'm a generalist. I'm not a detailist, and because the detail is within the knowledge of the people that I lead towards a new dimension.
Yeah.
And that's how I see that I can make the difference in leading the people, coaching the organizations to new dimensions. But it's not me that is going to do it.
No,
it's the people that is going to do it, and I will make sure that they have the time, the tools, the means, and so on to get in that direction.
And do you believe that a lot of, I would call them old style dinosaur legacy organization who have been doing the same trick for like 10 to 20 years. I mean, they have also a very command and control like organization structure. So the boss on the top saying you have to do this, and then it drills down. That's some of them are going to reflect in this period, and they have to realize if we want to keep our customers on the long term, the same with our best employees on the long term, we have to change, transform, because there's a difference between the two, to a more purpose-driven organization that people nowadays are going to reflect, because there are people like me staying at home. Everybody is at home with their children and combining that with work, and people are dying sometimes. We know also somebody whose father has died. I mean, it's all very, it's really a mirror. I mean, it's really about who are you and what you want to do for the remaining part of your life, because it's so short. What you want to be and what you want to do. Do you think also that's that's also what I believe in, that people, not all of them, but some people are going to change and now reflect and change after Corona and say, I don't want to work for a company anymore who is only focusing on shareholder value or doesn't have any social impact or does not correspond with my own personal values, and it will change. The same with customers. Or is it a little bit too la la land that I'm?
No. But your question has two dimensions. One is like these old dinosaurs, as you call them, and these organizations that are still hierarchical and so on. They're still working that way. You know, I've also lost that feeling a little bit, that you need to guide them to something new and so on, because the culture in that company will sooner or later help them to go in that direction. For me, in those kind of organizations, I am always saying, like, I come in as a change manager in those organizations. They ask change managers to solve a problem.
Okay.
I always say a change manager should be there to avoid problems.
Okay.
Yeah? So it's like proactive work more than reactive work. But in hierarchical organizations, they call it. And then the CEO, they tell me, he says like, Joris, I've told the organization already 5 times what they needed to do, and they don't do it. How come? And I said like, well, you have two reasons why they don't do it. One, it's you that have told them what to do. You haven't engaged them in any way. You haven't put the basis of thing. In Dutch, we have a nice word for that, draagvlak.
Yes.
It's like supporting basics of the organization. You haven't done that. So without doing that, why should people follow you? Why should they trust you? And you have these charismatic people that everybody wants to follow, but not every organization has it. So that's one thing. Then secondly, I go into these organizations and then I said like, okay, I'm the change manager and we're going to change something. And I said, oh yes, at last, a guy that is going to shake the tree and we're going to have some change. And my first question, and this is maybe something that you've read already, but the first question I asked like, okay, but what will you do differently tomorrow? And say, oh, no. To be clear, the problem is not with me. The problem is with my colleagues and from this other department. If they should do that and that and that, then my life would become easier. And then my work would become efficient and my work would become effective. And I said like, no, it's the other way around. What can you do to help others? Because the only one that you can adapt is yourself. You cannot ask for somebody else to do. You can ask them, but you're not sure that things will happen. If everybody starts from within itself, then maybe change would become very easy, and everybody would benefit from that. So for me, it's like typical in hierarchical organizations that people are looking to each other and nobody feels that the problem is within himself. And that's because in hierarchical organizations, it's very difficult to view the end-to-end process for that product. I don't need you to tell that as a sales guy. You know that that's what people are looking for. The second thing in your question is, will they still survive? Well, my strong belief is that in every organization and in every time, and as I'm an old guy, so you have always these, we call it generation conflicts. Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, the millennials, and so on. And what you see is that in every time in history, we had this item on the list. We had this generation conflict. For me, it's not a generation conflict. For me, it's a system that is constantly maturing itself and to become into organizations. So for me, it's like I don't worry that things in 10 or 15 years will be done differently because they will have different tools, they will have different mentality, they will have things. So in the end, the old ones going out and the new ones coming in, the old ones going out and the new ones going in. And you're always talking about the conflict when you are somewhere in that middle, when the new culture is taking over from the old ones. And of course, the old ones are still remaining on their seat as long as they can for these young guys to take over. But then you see in a lot of organizations where you have younger management, or you have other management, that they immediately take that step towards a new thing. So for me, it's like as a product in the years 80 and 90, Peter, we had this one product and we sold that to many customers. Today, the customer is an individual and he wants to have a product that suits his needs. So we are going from one to many. And so that means that that product has to have a lot of different variants. You want to have it tomorrow, you want to have it in wine, you want to have it this, you want to have it with that feature, you want to have it without that. And that's for me is a very nice thing to see that happening in the real world.
I mean, you're talking about senior persons, C-levels, that always put the power outside of themselves. They think, change the outside world and I'm going to be happy. I mean, you just mentioned that you left, what is it, 10 years plus, a big telco organization. You were senior VP. How about your ego? Because I'm becoming 45. I know what the ego is and how can I work with it. But when I was 25 or 35 even, I mean, then these kind of titles, I mean, it's it becomes your identity. And sometimes I see it for a lot of people, it's still their identity, and take that away from them, they're nobody. How did that process was for you?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting. Yeah. So I'm always, I said, like, the human factor is the red thread to my career, and I always believed that people would still make the difference. So I was more a people leader than a task leader, as you know me. I had one very big thing that I was always saying. Yeah? At the end, they said, like, there is no I in team. You remember that quote? There is no I in team. For me, there are a lot of I's in a team. For me, it's like, no, there are a lot of I's in a team. The reason to do that is that all these I's, all these individuals, they all have their different talents, they all have their different approach, different personality, different temperament, different things. So I was always saying there are a lot of I's in the team. And for me, it's my challenge, it's my opportunity to make all those individuals work together and go to new dimensions, go to new targets, go to new end zones. For me, that was very important. Although I understand the quote, there is no I in team, because in that quote, the I was talking about the ego.
No.
There is no place for an ego in teams, right?
Yes.
So that's for me the translation of there is no I in team. There are a lot of I's in a team, but the I as an ego needs to go out of the team. And for me, I've always been, I think for myself, and it's hard for me to say for myself, I think that I have always been a very authentic guy. I have always been the same in whatever situation. I was the same when I was delivering the internal mail in Volvo, then I was a vice president at Telenet, or when I'm an interim manager now in a large company. I convinced of myself that I'm always the same guy.
But how did you stay so humble? I mean, isn't that typical for like 20, 25, even 30? Yeah, there's a certain, I have to prove myself. You want to really manifest yourself, especially as a male.
But I have proven myself, Peter. I have proven myself. I've proven that from delivering mail to becoming a vice president without a university degree, I delivered that. I was there, and I've never asked for it. And in the beginning, I did, but in the end, people were asking me to do a certain job, and I was always lifting and so on. The reason why I came back, as I said before, another reason why I left this rat race, was that how must I say this? In the end, it's about humans, as I said. I always felt that in those top positions, there are a lot of egos. Mm-hmm. Your colleagues and so on, and will be careful with my words and so on, where it was not matching my own authenticity anymore. We were doing things in a company, we were making decisions in our company that were not stroke with my kind of beliefs and values. Yeah. So for me, that was like, that was a cut. And remaining a vice president in a company where I cannot for 100% be in line with the business we were going to deliver, I made for myself the decision to step out of that, rather than to stay in there for my ego and for my value, because I knew that my value, I was going to deliver my value somewhere else. I knew from the day that I left Telenet that I was strong enough to have an own company and to start all over again.
Yeah. Now, if you would go back in time, take a DeLorean, and I believe 1985 was the year of Back to the Future, like the first one.
I liked those movies, by the way.
Yeah, me too, me too. Especially when he played guitar in the beginning, that was for me. I was 8 years old. That was like, this is it. But that's off topic. Now, the Joris of now would meet the Joris of 18-year-old. What would be the things that you would say to him? Hey, Joris, these are the tips. These are the 3 lessons that I want to give to you. I don't know, to have a happy life, to have a rich life, to have a whatever life. What would you advise him?
Well, in fact, I would tell this guy the same things that my father told me, because my father was a wise man, and my father gave me a couple of tips, and I was always in conflict with my father. I was always in conflict, but in the end, he was so right, and I've done what he said, and it gave me a lot of benefits and opportunities in my career. So I will start with point 1. In point 1, he always said, like, nothing is for granted, but nothing is unachievable. So whenever you want something, just go for it and do your best. They have always chosen the good guys to lift up in the organization. They have never done it because you're the son of or whatever. So that was the first thing. It was like, work hard, play hard, and you will get the benefits. And that was the same as sports for me, also in the organization. A second thing, which was a very important thing, is if you have the choice, my father said, if you have the choice, choose for your boss, not for the function. That was a second very important one, because he said it's the boss that will make you go up in the organization rather than the function itself. You might have the best function, but if you don't have a boss that grants you your career, then so choose for the boss. Yeah. And the third thing that he said is like, be humble and be simple, because simplicity always wins. That's something that I have always remembered, and in meetings today, I'm still saying, when I have an interview, okay, start all over again. Tell me in simple words, what do you want me to do so that you can go on and so on? Because everybody comes with complex problems and complex situations, and well, Joris, sit down, I will tell you in 2 days what I've been struggling with in the last 2 years and so on. And I always said, like, well, if you can't make it simple, that means that you don't have a problem. And you can deal with problems one step at a time. And so it makes like, tell me in a simple way, what do you want? That are the 3 things. So it's choose for your boss instead of the function, being humble, and keep on working, keep on doing the right things at the right time.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm also a coach. I'm telling that people in exactly the same wordings, in the sense like, you don't have to please your boss so you can have a function. Your boss should be pleased with you so he could drive you somewhere else.
Yeah. Now you're a coach. You have also your own business, creating team buildings, and you are a change manager.
And an interim manager, interim manager, speaker, and as well. That's interesting, because in the end, the red thread in all of that is like, I want to change people's behavior.
And why do you like that?
Because they make the difference.
Yeah, I know that, but does it spark you energy? It gives you good feeling of happiness when you, I mean, when you met somebody and you have changed their paths, and you actually I've brought out the potential that you saw, which is in them, and now they can really manifest that. Is that what's driving you?
Well, another thing that 10 years ago, I'm already building up on the list of things why I left this vice president job at a large company with a large salary and a large title and so on. I left it because I had a lot of reasons. another reason was like, and it's a slogan that I'm using when I come into organization and I do my first speech to as an interim manager to a new team, 120 people sitting in a hall. I said like, I'm Joris, who am I? And always said like, look, I've always had the benefit that I had a lot of nice people around me that made me reach my destiny. Because my destiny in the end was I wanted to be a high value guy in a large company and so on. I think as a vice president for a telecom company that I succeeded in that aspect. So I had the benefit that I had these people around me that made me go in that destiny, because it was not because I had the university degrees for that or whatever. No, it was on my own and what I did. And I always said like, well, when I went away for a job, I said like, from now on, and I was 48 at that moment, 9 years ago, I said like, I will work on my legacy from now on, because I want to leave something that people can remember me from, more than being the vice president of Telenet. So my legacy, Peter, is that young people like you can reach your destiny, because you're still fighting for your destiny. You still want to go there as well. I've been there for me, and that's a choice that I've made. I've been at my destiny. So my legacy will be that you reach your destiny. That makes me happy. That makes me happy.
That's an incredible answer, Joris. Now, I mean, you have been very successful, and it seems that everything you touches becomes gold. But yeah, you know what? There is no such a straight line going up. I mean, what are the setbacks that you have faced, those failures or lessons, of course, that you, had, which, created a story for you to say, this is something I learned. Maybe this is a situation or a company which I don't thrive in, or something else in the last 10 years or something.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of things, of course, that didn't went the way that you go. For me, is that you said like you have a lot of different approaches. Who is Joris? He's a change manager. He's an interim manager. He's a coach. He's doing something with films and so on. He has his own production company. Who is he? He's a keynote speaker. And I always say like, and I saw this from a friend's blog, and a friend's blog was saying like, there is a word in English called slasher. It's not a Friday the 13th slasher, that's not the one, but the slasher is like somebody that is doing a lot of different things. Yeah, they don't seem to connect to each other, but in the end they do, and they call that a slasher. And there are a lot of people that are doing that. I'm doing that because all these things, because I'm interested in that human factor. That's for me the threat. And the second threat is change. Everything that is positive change is for me something that that my ambition reaches in. But very important is that as a slasher, I need to have an opportunity to make a difference with the people. If you don't see that opportunity, then I don't want that job.
Okay, so sometimes you say no.
It's a positive engagement. It's getting to a new level, and these people needs to come in motion. I always say, getting people in motion, and once they are in a certain motion, I leave, because I'm an interim manager. Yeah. I leave and I say like, okay, now it's up to you. Yeah, I drive them in a certain direction. And that for me is a very important one. Now, without risk, you don't have fun. Huh? No risk, no fun, they say. Huh? So I'm a risk taker. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. An example, which is maybe something that people will be surprised upon. I always have something like, okay, when I went away from Telenet, I said like, I'm into music and I want to do films and so on. And you remember, I said like, I will create a new festival.
I know. Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, I
Everybody
remember.
said like,
Yeah, I
oh,
was
that's
there.
crazy as hell. Joris, you don't know that business and so on. And I said like, I will learn it along the way and so on. So I went into that and so on. And 2 times I delivered a festival, yeah, and a retro festival, as you remember, and so on. But in the end, we made 10,000s of euros loss. I paid them personally. So nobody, and I mean nobody else in that whole organization had to put a dime on the table because to cover the loss. I've paid it all, yeah, and that's because I had a crazy idea.
Yeah.
So responsibility and accountability for me in organizations is something that needs to be adapted more.
Yeah.
So when I come into an interim job, I said like, yeah, you're responsible for that, but do you take the accountability with it? Yeah. That for me is sometimes they want to be responsible, but they don't want to be accountable.
Yeah.
That for me is a very important question. So I've learned in my way. To make a long story short, in my 57 years of life, I've had 2 times the reset button in my life.
Okay.
A reset button meaning I had no euro left.
Okay.
Twice in my life, I've had nothing in my pocket anymore. Twice in my life, I resetted myself, looked for opportunities, looked for new things for me to happen and so on. And in the end, I'm a happy person, Peter, still am. And okay, if you don't take risks, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But in the end, I've learned and earned more than I've ever lost. So I've earned now 2 or 3 times more than I've lost in the time. So for me, also that is part of my life. It's taking risks. Now, answering your questions. I'm sorry, it's a long talk to answer your question. But the question is like, have you taken jobs that you don't want to do and so on? Yeah. Of course, yeah. And you know, it's about when you come to the conclusion that either the team of people don't want to go anywhere,
yeah,
and then you can be dropped into that team, and there is no support, there is no drive in the direction or in the management team and so on. So you just need to be there because they feel that is the right thing to do, but they don't know where they want to go, they don't know where they are going to. So yes, have you been in that situation, Joris? Oh yes, I've been in that situation. Have you learned from that? Oh yes, a lot. So it gives me the strength to say no the next time I come to that situation.
Because actually I learned more from those experiences who at that time are painful. Yeah. But I know now better what I want, where I can be successful in and where not. And
to be honest, 90% of our experience, life experience, come from bad things. Because don't do those things. If you go into your son in the future, you will probably tell him, don't touch this, don't do that, or to do that, because you had the experience that would bringing you not good stuff. So you will teach him out of your experience that those are things that you should go around.
That's why I want to let him to experience the thing so he can learn the lesson, because it's always the same. You can tell somebody you should watch out for this or this, but people don't listen, and they I wouldn't say they are stubborn. They want to experience for themselves.
So the inspiration is like, in what situation have you learned the most?
Well, like I said, it's during the setbacks. It's there. So, the most difficult time.
If you leave the child into his childhood and so on, that's also for me why change isn't happening anymore in the thing. So I will tell you, if I may, I will tell you a little story around what I tell people in my keynote. I have a keynote around change and why change is happening in one organization and not in the other. And for me, that has all to do with life patterns, and it's brain patterns. So I explain to people how your brain is working.
Yeah.
Now, you know that your habits are a good thing, because habits and patterns make you more efficient, make you more effective. An example that I'm always giving in the room, and I said, like, if you don't believe me that your whole life is your brain that is taking over 80% of the time, your brain is taking over what you're doing. It's like, do you still think, Peter, when you drive a car? What you need to do to drive a car? Do you still go every step in a way? No. It's an automatic pilot. It's your brain that is taking over.
Correct.
So your brain is taking over and is doing things. So if you go to Thailand or to England and you hire a car and you see that the steering wheel is the other side and your clutch is the other, it brings you a shiver, and you need to drive the other side of the road and so on. So it's very resistant. But on the other hand, you have to, so you do it. And after 2 weeks, you come into that situation. So that is very important, that you reduce those patterns. The older you become in life, the more that those patterns getting stuck in your brain. My mother of 88, had a new TV and it had another remote. She still asks me 2 years later if she could still use the old remote, because that's what she knows. That's what her pattern tells it. And she still has difficulties with the new remote. So for me, it's all about exploring those patterns in every single individual's mind, in the team and so on, and to change those patterns, make a new pattern which they would like, which they would go for, which they would, and then create that new environment. That's when change is happening, when people are able to let the old pattern behind them and go for the new pattern. And there is a scientific proof for that. It takes 28 days in a consequent thing before you get used to that, and that new pattern becomes your normal pattern. So it's all about patterns. It's all about getting to know where these people are sitting in, and how they are doing their job, and why they are doing it, the way they are doing it, and how you see opportunities to go for the next level. Now, that for me is an important aspect.
Now, in the beginning, you mentioned that in these days you are reading a lot or surfing a lot. I mean, all this information about the brain and about change, it didn't come to you naturally, of course, due to experience, but also by studying. Today, right now, who are actually people that you admire, who inspire you?
Oh, for me, it's like, maybe not today, but a guy that has inspired me very much, and on a high level even, is my CEO at the telecom company. It's Duco Sikkingen. Duco, as you know, was, I would tell it differently. Duco was the best CEO I ever worked for. He was the most charismatic guy. He was a guy that had a vision of the future, which we delivered. In the end, we are sitting in a world that he described 15 years ago. It was like unbelievable. He knew how to start with it. He knew what to do and so on. But you know, I've been watching the movie of Steve Jobs. And when I saw the movie of Steve Jobs, I said, like, it's all Duco. And I remember that Duco told me that he worked for 7 years as a young guy for Steve Jobs in the next company. In between the Apple times. So Duco has learned the job from Steve Jobs. He has adapted his own style, but there is still, if you look at the picture of Steve Jobs, you see a lot of Duco. So for me, Duco was a very inspiring guy. I'm still thinking sometimes, like, what would Duco do in this situation?
Okay. Interesting.
Because he always had this drive, and once you had this thing and so on, he was always saying, like, what you have delivered yesterday is not important anymore. It's what you deliver today, what you will deliver tomorrow. So egos are like,
okay, interesting.
Necessary for him. It's about what you will deliver and what you're doing today. It's not like resting on your
Lowers.
lower and rusten.
Yeah, lowers, yes.
And say like, well, I've done this, I've done that. No, you've done that. Fine. I've given you the salary for it.
Yeah, that's true.
And today we have another challenge, and tomorrow we will have another challenge. So it's where we have to. And that for me is very important.
That's one. And books or videos, or I mean.
Well, in fact, I'm always going back to old books. I'm reading this one for the moment. You see it?
Networkers.
The Black Book of Networking. It's like.
Never heard of it.
It's a complete book. Yeah, but he said, like, for me, as you know, networking is very important because the network takes care of you. I always say.
Yeah.
And so it's going back to those roots and saying, like, but what is important in networking? What is important? What we are doing now? What you are doing? What I'm doing? How do you keep your network alive? I'm always saying, like, I'm not going into my network to find a job. I'm going into my network to establish relations, friendships, and other stuff. And the network will take care of me. And they've always done. Until today, my network always took care of me. But one threat, for example, that I saw in the Black Book again, is like, it's not about how many people you know. It's about how many people know you.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about how am I perceived to the outside world as Joris? Maybe we should phone Joris and so on. So I'm always saying, like, you need to be top of mind with the people that can help you in the directions you're into. As you know, I'm an interim manager, so I depend upon being top of mind at the moment that they are searching for opportunities or interim management.
That's a very interesting topic that you're now touching on, because when I was doing the videos on selling without selling your soul, I had somebody who contacted me, and he was a kind of project service management position, and he was like, Peter, can you do a video about networking? How do you do that? I mean, are you thinking in the morning how I'm going to create my personal brand, which is like a typical, this is I wouldn't say hype, but something you have to do, especially on Instagram with the right pictures, and how do you do that in your personal opinion? Networking.
It's being there constantly. It's being there. Right?
Is it on being there? Is it on drinking lots of beers at the right parties, or how does that happen? Or you just walk to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm Joris."
For me, it works. Yeah, when I can be the most authentic Joris that I can be. So indeed, I know that sometimes I have to go to a drink, sometimes I have to go to a party, sometimes I have to go to a seminar, because I know that a large amount of people from my network are going to be present there. Maybe I'm not interested in the topic as such, but I know that a lot of my people, network, will be there. So I go there to give support to my network, to have a little chat with certain people, what you're up to and so on. And in the end, then you say, like, I'm doing okay. I've just done a job there and so on, and I've done that, and now I'm at home. I'm taking care of my animals. I think, are you free? Yeah, but it's not that I'm really. But if you hear something, it's fine. So networking for me, it's about that those people know what they can, why they can rely upon me. When do I need to be in the picture? It's about my talent. It's about, like, it's not my knowledge. It's my skills that they need to understand, because knowledge and skills are very different. And as you know, I'm also giving leadership courses, and I'm a trainer at the business schools around soft skills, because what is something that you don't learn at school? You learn a lot of knowledge, a lot of things. But you don't learn how to sell, how to relate to people, how to understand people, how to look for opportunities. That personality needs more of this, that personality needs more of that. So I believe in the motivational aspect of people. Why would anybody in my network grant me an opportunity?
Okay.
Why would they do that? Because they like you as a person, and because they like you as they know that the skills that you have will help them. I will not grant anybody something where I don't know how they will perform in that. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, for me, is networking. Networking is being there. Know that Joris is this kind of guy. Joris can help us with that kind of opportunity. They know, and you know also, like, it's not about my background of ICT. I've never been programming in my life. No, I don't know any language, programming language, but I can guide people that are programming. I can guide analysts in programming. I can marketing people. I can facilities, logistics, and so on. Look at all the departments that I've ever had the chance and the unbelievable happiness that I've been able to do that. And so on. I think in any cases, why? Because it's about people. It's not about knowledge. It's not about me as a knowledge guy. The knowledge is there, so I can learn from that. But it's getting those people into a new direction with new kind of processes, new kind of ways of working. And that's what they need to know. That's why they can use me. That's the opportunity that I'm looking for. Not the one saying like, Joris, we know you have a lot of experience and knowledge in blah, 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 which I don't have because I'm a generalist, and the details are somewhere else, are within the people that I guide.
I mean, don't you think, because that person asked me that question, what about networking? Now you're talking about soft skills, and that's indeed something I learned the hard way, is that it doesn't matter how much expertise you have or even how good you can sell in terms of technique. The thing is, how can you engage with other people and create value for them? And it's really about that engagement. And engagement is the same as networking, without selling something, of course. Do you believe that youngsters today, they are better at engaging than we were? Because we never learned at school these soft skills. We only learned hard skills. We were actually conditioned thinking about working hard and doing this kind of things. You will get there. It's always about knowledge. And you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, then you are there. But it's not at all about it. It starts from the people, connecting with other people, because the knowledge, you can find it somewhere.
That's why I had the opportunity. And the opportunity for me was like, when these leadership schools were asking me like, yeah, but can you deliver a training in Six Sigma? I know Six Sigma, as you know, but that won't grant, or that won't give me the satisfaction. I was said like, you know, I've learned a lot around behavioral attitude of human people. If you mention one book that I've read, is the Psychology of Jung, which is in the MBTI and discovery and so on. So I was very interested in that. So I've studied that 25 years ago, and I was always using that. In the end, I've learned that motivation in people has hundreds of dimensions. Because I can push the button of Peter Snauer, and he could be like, yes, I'm motivated, and I do the same thing to somebody else, and he said like, well, what the hell? What do you want from me? So it's about learning which button you have to press to get people in motion. And those buttons can be very different in a team. And so you will have to be an octopus and a people manager to just put the right people in the right aspects with the right motivational stuff. And then it's about, so my soft skills training are going around motivation, are around coaching. Instead of telling people what they need to do and how they need to do it, it's coaching them like, it would be right if we go there, and it's up to you to find a way, and I can help you, and so on. It's a different approach. It's what people demand. A third thing is around building trust. Why would people follow you? This is not something that is happening from one day or the other. So it's something you need to build. And a fourth is the change management. It's what my route is like. What do you need to do to get to change the patterns, breaking off the patterns and so on? That's where that kind of knowledge comes into. So the knowledge for me is in the attitude and patterns behavior of people. So if I'm going into a job after 2 weeks, I know the organization, I know where the difficult and the less difficult and the positive and the negative and so on. I can very quickly adapt to that and then go forward with that team. And it's about taking the positive and the negative. It's not about leaving the ones behind or whatever. It's about taking all that into one bucket and say like, okay, what do I have here and how do I need to go there? If I would have had the opportunity, like every single opportunity that I get, I always do it with a different approach. I've never done things twice in a row.
Okay.
So as an interim manager for the last company, I've introduced a complete digital transformation aspect. I've done it in a complete different way than what I've done 8 years already in other companies, because I felt that adapted way was going to give more benefits. And if I may say for myself, I saw in the end that it did. But it did have to do with engagement and motivation and other stuff.
But first you're going to engage with these people, and then you're going to define for yourself, this is going to the approach based on the input and of the intelligence that you gathered of the conversations with these people.
Mm-hmm. So I will tell you the trick, which is like the Japanese. Yeah, this is the trick. Once it's about the vision. I think that people need to have a clear vision where they are going to. Okay. I think that's very important. A second one, and that you will like also, is like, why are we going in that direction? Why do we want to go there? That's the second thing. If you don't have those two, nobody will move. Yeah. A third thing that you always need to get on the table: do we have a plan? If you don't have a plan, we have to make a plan. How will we reach that destiny, and why we should go there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. A fourth thing, is like, do we have the means to do that? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the budget? Do we have the people to go there? Yeah. And a fifth thing is like the competences. Yeah. Do we have the right knowledge in-house? Or do we have to get the right knowledge? Do we have to have training and so on? If those five are in sync, people will move. That for me is the simplest way to tell how I do my job every single time again. I go to the people, I said like, and to the management committee, where do you want to go? Secondly, why do you want to go there? And I translate that to the team. Thirdly, I will deliver a plan. Fourthly, do I get the means to go there? Yeah. And fifthly, do we have the right competencies, and do we have to get some training aspects in there? Do we have to get some knowledge from outside to help us with this and so on? That for me are the 5 things. That's my job. That's how I do my job every single time.
Great. Now, Joris, you're 57. I mean, in 10 years, who is Joris Walraet?
I hope that I don't have to cover for that question. I hope that people like you and others that I helped along the way and that I have led in a certain direction will tell that about me. It's like, at least he was the right guy at the right moment, or he was, I think, as well. Will I have done everything good in my life for everybody? No, you can't. So there will be people that are pissed off with my kind of attitude and my kind of interim management perspective. But still, I think that, as I said, like I would be very disappointed if people within 10 years would not say that Joris is one of the most authentic guys that I've ever experienced in my life. For me, that is very important, that people see me as the guy that I am, not the function, not the title, not it's who I am and what I can do, and that everything that I do, even if I'm mad or even if I'm disappointed that I still do that because I want to make things better for them, not for me. Not for me. I'm not in here for me anymore. My legacy is that you reach your destiny.
Yeah. But within 10 years, you will do still the same things?
I don't know. I'm a slasher, as I said. So I can move from one thing to the other. If I see people of me, friends of me, like it's a guy that I know, Rick Vera and Peter Henson and so on. They are traveling around the world and delivering their message. Who knows? Maybe I'll do that also. And
but then you have to wear a T-shirt, Joris?
What is that?
Then you have to wear a T-shirt,
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a big fan of Rick Vera because he's going to be the next one I'm going to ask. I'm a very big fan. I like his rock and roll attitude. I like it, and it's I like his. I like that.
I think behind me is this book. I'm still reading it.
I've read it 3 months ago. Yeah.
And some. By the way, another book that you gave me about 5 years ago, I think, for my birthday once, and you had this guy on your list already, Jan Bomré.
Yeah.
Flow and Swanwalla. It has delivered also kind of new material for me to work around. And so it was very interesting to have those kind of inputs. But the authenticity for me is like, I don't copy methods. I don't copy people. I don't copy other people, other stuff, and so on. So for me, it's about being authentic and making my story and being strong in what I think I can do best. And it's not about saying like, I've learned this from Steve Jobs, have done this, so we are going to do the same, or you have to implement Six Sigma and everything will be solved. No, I will never say that. It doesn't mean that I'm not using Six Sigma tools along the way. I use them a lot, but I will not name them. I've learned this in Six Sigma and you should this and that. So that luggage is unbelievably worthful for my day-to-day job.
And what is next for you? Do you have an idea? I mean, post-corona, I mean, like the soft skills, I'm like, why don't you put it in a training and sell it online? I think a lot of people are interested in organizations. If I look at our organization, I will be the first to order that and give it to everybody, especially the non-sellers. Everybody should learn soft skills. Because all the things you just mentioned is for me selling, by the way, but that's another thing. So what's for you is next?
For me, next is like, as I said, I have the happiness of being in a beautiful house with a lot of garden and animals and so on. And there is an old stable on this territory that I'm completely rebuilding for the moment. Already busy for a year around that. I will make an office in there. I will make a training room in there. I will make a kind of like a small wellness in there. I will make all kinds of stuff. So I can invite people to come into a very smooth environment, into a very, and indeed train them. So instead of me going to the organizations, the plan is on maybe here 3 years that the organizations are coming to me. Could be online, could be classical, could be different things. So yes, I'm looking into that. I'm investing a little bit in my business for that, and so that's something that. But I'm not focusing only on that. I'm focusing on new opportunities, on new levels of business. I think also after Corona times will give us new opportunities. People will have to be able to work in a different way. They will need, organization will need a kind of change managers to guide the people into these new behaviors as well. Why can't I sit next to this guy anymore and in this close of social distancing or whatever? How can we adapt to that? How can we live that? How can we we rethink our organizations so these matters can be taken care of. I think that a lot of this will need some change management in a lot of companies, rethinking procedures, sales pitches, and so on, because everything will be different.
Now, you mentioned already a couple of times your animals and the nature. Is that something that you need in order to recharge yourself, to find new inspiration and new ideas? Because it's something also Jan Bommeré is saying, yeah?
Yes, 100% yes. If I can be in my garden in Swanland and being with a shovel and getting the shit out of the stable and so on, like that's
your meditation.
I really that's where I really get rid of the shit and so on, like mentally but also physically. So yes, my garden is my psychologist, I always say. So for me, that's the best opportunity to get my head clear.
Okay.
And sometimes when I'm mowing the grass, I'm rethinking about certain aspects of my business life and so on, and I come up with a bright idea or try to get so yes, 100% yes.
It sounds really like a meditation when you're in your garden.
Yes.
Now,
so it's my psychologist, as I said. In the beginning of my career, that was my sports. As a basketball player, I had this balance that I could go to sports, and then when I was on the court, the business was forgotten, and I was there. So the same thing is now here in my garden. When I go into my garden and I switch off my computer, I really go into my garden. So the pattern is I do not rethink that. I'm going into my garden and I let myself go into another state of mind.
Now, last question. What is still a crazy dream for you to do or to be? Well, a crazy one, eh? Like playing in a Hollywood movie or...
An astronaut.
Excuse me?
Being an astronaut.
Yeah, it's possible. Eh? I mean, for me, if I want to speak at a TEDx, or if Chris Martin would call me, immediately I go. Although I'm not such a big Coldplay fan, but I would go anyway.
Well, you mentioned, and maybe it's not because you interview me, Peter, but because it's as you know, I've done a lot of things. I had already a very crazy life, I feel, for myself. So I had a lot of things that I could experience. And when I was studying and then in high school and so on, I was playing in a band.
Yeah, you look actually like David Bowie.
Guitar, not the way you can play, you're 1,000 times better. But I still have the guitar, I still have the amplifier, I still have the pedals. And so the craziest dream for me is like that here within 5 or 10 years, I could go out there and play on some stages and so on and enjoy people. Again, it's about people, it's about seeing that they are happy, seeing that so picking that up, that's the craziest idea. I don't know if I will ever get there. But as you know, I'm challenging myself once in a while. I have the craziest idea to have an own brand of beer. As you know, I have it. I had the craziest idea on my 55 birthday, when I was 55, to have this Spartacus run medal. Like everybody said, like you're crazy doing that on that age and so on. I did it. So the guitar is in there, but not concrete yet. So if you talk about a crazy idea, that might be a crazy idea that I said, like me being on a stage and playing guitar with a band. And again, it's not because you are such a great guitar player, but that would be something that would gratify me in a certain way.
And it's not about how many notes you know, it's just playing, I mean, even enough chords and co-creation with other people. It's, you've witnessed it a couple of times. It's...
So maybe I have to train you in a lot of soft skills, and you can train me in playing.
Yeah, that's a deal. That's a deal. That's a win-win. Yeah?
It's a win-win.
Joris, we're going to end here. Is there still one thing you want to share that we did not touch upon that you want to share with the audience to leave your legacy?
Well, like I said, I've delivered a lot of messages which I think are very important, but I've said them in certain ways. Always believe in yourself, I would say. If you have somewhere in your life, you have a setback, like, okay, come back stronger. I've been there. Like I said, the reset button was twice in my life. I've been not successful in festivals, but I've been very successful in other things and in sports and in so on. So, and it's about, you know, the best things are in the choices where there is some risk. And I know that not everybody is willing to take risks because they have a family and they have certain things that they want to take care of, which I also had. But I can understand, like, a little bit of risk gives you a little bit of fun. And if you have that setback or whatever, deal with it, come back stronger, and go. Things in life happen when you go out of your comfort zone, as they always say. And as you know me, I'm the guy that is going out of my comfort zone pretty much. So that's what I would like to deliver as a message.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Joris, for this very energetic, passionate conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, and I hope your listeners will enjoy it also. So.
I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things which with everybody can learn from, because that's the whole thing. Everybody has a story, and everybody can learn from that. So, Joris, thanks a lot for your time. I'm very grateful.
Thanks for the opportunity. Top.
You're number 9.
Yes. Okay.
For the rest, all the rest are all women. So.
Okay, so I'm the leader of the pack, and then the women.
Of course.
Nice.
So thanks, Joris, and stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you next time.
Yes, we'll do.
Bye.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.